Hi, this is Crystal.
And I'm Ann.
Welcome to Let's Talk About Faith Stuff.
Let's Talk About Faith Stuff was designed to be an inclusive, alternative faith experience that we hope will inspire you to create discussions about faith with those you know. Today, we will continue our conversation about your faith questions.
Last week, we tackled a pretty tough question about finding common ground in the Christian faith.
It was a great conversation, and we hope that you continued that conversation with people in your life.
Having faith questions doesn't mean that you doubt. It simply means that you have questions. We want to encourage you to bring your questions to us so that we can discuss them.
Someone has brought us their question today. We are going to attempt to discuss one of the most difficult subjects of our faith.
Let's really talk about faith stuff.
What is our question for this week?
In the Christian faith, we talk about temptations and the devil/evil one. Do other faiths speak, teach, refer to similar topics? What about the concept of hell?
This question is coming at a really great time since we are beginning the season of Lent, where we talk about Jesus being tempted in the desert by the devil. So let's start there.
In the Christian faith, Lent is a 40-day period of time between Ash Wednesday and Easter. And Sundays don't count, those they call mini Easters, but in between there, all those other days count up to 40. And in that story, we talk about Jesus being in the desert and he's fasting, he's praying, and he is tempted by the devil. And so we know that the devil appears in the New Testament. So, we know that the devil and temptation are all very real topics in the Christian faith. The second part of our question, it talks about, do other faiths speak, teach, refer to similar topics? What do you think, Ann?
Well, first, I think there's an assumption that we know what we mean by the devil and hell. We need to state that there are a lot of different opinions about that, a lot of different ideas, even within the Christian faith. So it's hard to say exactly what that means. We have done a little bit of research about other faiths, but there's a lot of stuff on the internet, and some of it's good and some of it's bad. So we don't really feel confident in what other religions say about it. We have some information.
We do. We have some information, but, short of having someone here from the Muslim faith and from Judaism, we can't really answer to the deeper level of that question just from our faith experience. As Ann said, there's good information on the internet. Just look for a scholarly source, maybe a university or a church or a synagogue or a mosque website.
Right. So, what can we say about those things in our faith?
I can speak a lot to the Methodist faith as far as temptations and the devil. I think temptation is real. I think it's with us every day. And I think as a Christian, my job is to work hard on not being tempted. But if I fall, I can go to God in prayer and say, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry for what I did. You can't just go, oh, I'm sort of sorry. You have to be really sorry. What do you think about temptation and the devil in our churches?
I think that I agree. Temptation is real. I think the question of, is there a physical devil is unclear. Certainly we are tempted by a lot of things, and we are tempted to do a lot of bad things, and sometimes we give in to those temptations, and hopefully more often we don't. But I think that's very unclear. In fact, I think if you look at our United Methodist Church website, you might find that it's unclear there too.
It is. In fact, they do mention that they are just really not sure, and therefore, being Methodist, we have to be sure. And so they're not willing to say. I can tell you what one of our Methodist pastors says I want to make sure I get this quote right. This is from the Reverend Adam Hamilton. This comes from the United Methodist Church website, umc.org. Quote, "So people ask me, do you believe in hell? And the truth is, I don't want to believe in hell. I don't like the idea of it. But as I think about the idea of hell logically, it seems like it has to be there," unquote. I think that's my answer. I love that answer. And it's so true.
He goes on to say, and this is not a quote, but he goes on to say in general, people can choose whether they want to turn toward God or not. And not everyone chooses to turn toward God. And if they turn away from God, that's what I think he is saying hell is turning away from God and doing your own thing. And I think we see a lot of that in today's world, that's for sure.
Yeah, we do. But also, I think that there's always that hand extended from God, to want to be in relationship with us. And that never goes away, even after we die. I mean, I do believe that it's always the opportunity to be there. In the Catholic Church, there's this thing called Purgatory. And in a lot of faith traditions, actually, there's this time of atonement and waiting. That the things that you do in your life, you have to sometimes atone, sometimes just confess what you did before you can move on to the really good place. But this time of waiting place doesn't seem necessarily in some faith traditions to be a really bad place. It's just kind of a nondescript place.
A place to learn what you might want to do differently, perhaps.
Yeah, and I'm not against that.
Like a timeout.
Yeah, I think we have to be a little accountable, I mean, God gives us love and grace and forgiveness freely. Jesus paid for that. But at the same time, does that mean we get a get out of jail free card because we're Christians? No, I think there really does have to be some sort of reckoning. Thanks for joining us today.
We hope you will continue to have this conversation. We'd love to hear from you. And we'd love to hear about what interesting things you are discussing.
Yes, we would. And there's an email address in the credits where you can send us your questions. You can give us feedback and tell us how your discussions went.
We look forward to hearing from you. Until then, keep questioning.
See you next time. Bye.